Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Hawk Blogger Mornings. I am Brian Nemhauser. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Hawk Blogger. And here we are, 131 straight days of Seahawks news and content every single morning. It is great to be here with y'all on a Blue Friday here. I think it's officially gets to be Blue Friday now that we're into training camp, although I don't think the team will start promoting that till we get into the actual season, but nothing to stop us from doing it. I didn't get the memo. I'm not wearing really blue, but in any event, we're going to celebrate it together today. And part of the celebration has to start with confirmation from Adam Schefter this morning that Geno Smith's injury is not significant. They essentially do not expect him to miss time. So this was not a surprise. I talked about this on my camp report yesterday. I wrote about it in my camp notes last night. So if you guys are following along, this should come as no surprise to you. But still, like I said in the notes, anytime they decide that you want to get imaging, it's not the best thing, and you never know. Maybe there's a hairline this or something small that they find, and just good to get confirmation that Geno's fine. Because look, even though I wrote last night about how Sam Howell has been playing better the last few practices, the difference between him running Ryan Grubb's offense and Sam Howell, the difference between Geno Smith running Ryan Grubb's offense and Sam Howell running Ryan Grubb's offense, it's like the difference between, pick your favorite Formula One driver. I don't watch that reality show, but I know a lot of people do. Pick your favorite driver that's a professional that hits all the corners, the right speed, just handles, has got it on lock. And, a somewhat new driver, maybe just got their license a little while ago, a little erratic. Insurance is going to be a little higher for that person because there's going to be some accidents. And so, it's the entertainment factor is different. And one of the things I talked about this with some folks on the sideline yesterday that was palpable was that the overall energy level in practice was down with Geno not there. And I don't think it's because anyone was bummed about it or anything like that. But the intensity, like Geno is bringing something to those practices that is bringing out the best of the offense and the best in the defense. And the Sam Howell-led offense just, I don't know, it didn't have the same spark. And so even on the defensive side of the ball, it felt like it was just a little bit less intense than, when Geno's been out there. And that's not to say it was like lackadaisical, because it wasn't. Devin Witherspoon yesterday, man, he just does not like it when a pass gets completed on him, regardless of situation. When they do these 1v1 receiver versus defensive back drills, I often don't pay a lot of attention to those through the years because it's such a massive advantage for the offense. If a receiver cannot find open space with only one person guarding them, the entire field to work with, then honestly, I don't know what you're doing in the NFL. It can be instructive where if a defensive back is sticky and hard to complete a ball against in those drills, then that's incredibly impressive. So it's just generally really stacked against the defenders. But in any event, the social media, Seahawks social media account did post one of the reps that I made note of yesterday where Witherspoon was lined up against DK Metcalf. DK took about 3-4 steps, whatever it was, and then ran a slant. And Witherspoon was right there. Metcalf made a contested catch, as he's done time and again this training camp. And honestly, like I wouldn't have thought twice about the play. I would have thought, okay, good rep for both guys. Spoon was right there. DK makes a contested catch, on to the next. Spoon was pissed. He was hopping up and down, stomping. He was so mad, screaming, like, no, like he did not want to accept that DK Metcalf caught this slant against, just him. Like there was no other defenders, no other traffic. So um that's that's who Devin Witherspoon is going to be. And there was a couple other times. I mean, he's just been, most of the times he's been frustrated, it's been against DK, because DK, he's got such an advantage, his height, his reach, his strength, and it just shows up. It shows up a lot, and it shows up more in this training camp than it has ever shown up. So, in any event, point being, Geno Smith's healthy. I think it's good for the team when he comes back. I'm assuming that they're going to hold him out of the scrimmage tomorrow. No reason to put him in there. I made mention of this in my notes last night, that it's a low-key good thing that Sam Howell and PJ Walker are getting extra reps. I think that's good. But there's just no reason. There's no reason to force Geno out early. So I'd expect Geno back maybe Monday next week. Maybe he'll miss a couple more practices just to give it some time. But generally speaking, he looks like he's gonna be fine, and everybody can exhale a little bit. A few other things that I just wanted to add a little color onto before I get into the 53-man roster prediction and some of the changes that I've seen since I first posted roster predictions. When I interviewed Christian Haynes a couple days ago, he talked about Byron Murphy being his toughest matchup, which was cool to hear. But then I also have been watching, like, in 1v1s yesterday, great little set of reps there where Byron Murphy just walked Christian Haynes back, like showed tons of power. And then the next rep, Christian Haynes shoved Byron Murphy into the ground. It was like, it was great. It was great to see that from both of those guys. And I think that they are really helping each other. I think everyone liked those two picks at the top of the draft, inside Seattle, outside of Seattle. And not only were they good picks because they were good players in positions of value and need, but now I think we're starting to see that these two are going to be able to help each other elevate their game. And, that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to watch. So that was a piece. I talked about this as well in the notes last night. Laviska Shenault, a guy I talked about during the offseason, he really was utilized more yesterday than he has all camp. So it was really good to see him out there, and he made the most of it. He did seem to be getting some treatment, like a little bit sore, but I think that, he played the whole practice. So, but he had a good practice yesterday, and just looks like he's a very different weapon than the rest of the guys they have on offense. And I hope that it works out with him, because I think he gives them something that nobody else does. I think Derek Young might be the closest alternative in terms of power. Like Derek Young, he's built like Ricardo Lockett, like just absolute chiseled athlete at receiver, and can bring physical, running ability. Shenault he's thicker, maybe a little shiftier. And so I'm just kind of curious to see how that works out. And then the other piece that I'll just add a little bit onto is that I've been watching Mike Morris, and I feel like he has had, he's been dealing with a little elbow injury, but he practiced, and I think he had a good practice yesterday. And one rep in particular, he stood up a double team, split it, and what would have been a sack. So, that was good to see. I think Mike Morris had talked about before training camp that he was trying to get his confidence back. I'm sure getting a little injury doesn't hurt. It doesn't help, but he seemed to really have some good moments yesterday. So that was cool to see. Oh, we got a super chat here from Detail Oriented. Brian, you talked before how you like to see offense do awesome one day, then defense do next, and back and forth on the same day. Iron sharpening iron. Are you liking what you're seeing now as camp progresses? Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up, and thanks again for the super chat. I would say that it had been very one-sided for the most part through the first 4 or 5 practices, but over the last few, it's been back and forth. And yesterday, as I think you might have heard, offense and defense were tied, whatever that means, however the coaches keep score. They had them equal at the end of practice, and Mike McDonald had them do a tiebreaker 2-point conversion attempt. They tried to throw it to DK Metcalf, who wasn't open, and Trey Brown was in coverage, and so defense won the day. But I think it's a good indicator. It was back and forth, DJ James had his first interception yesterday. Trey Brown had a pick 6. There was a number of other good plays yesterday by the defense, but I mean, Leonard Williams, especially early, had a couple of big plays against the run, but the offense made some plays. Laviska Shenault had his big touchdown. Aesop Winston had a nice catch and a nice touchdown. DK had a number of touchdowns in the red zone drill. Kenneth Walker had some nice plays. There was just a back and forth to it. And I think that's ideal. Now, I think there's going to be days where one side comes out with more energy, that they come out and they surprise the other side with some things that they weren't expecting. So it can be a little one-sided. But increasingly, I think you're going to want to see this be a back and forth. And right now, that's the stage of camp we're at. So we'll see. You guys will all get to see with the scrimmage tomorrow, assuming some of you folks are going. I don't know, are they televising it or not? Honestly, I haven't checked, but I think they should. I mean, I think a lot of Seahawks fans would watch it. But I will be there to check it out tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to it. I think I'll be in the press box for the first time, and, I don't know how much time I'm going to want to spend in the press box during the season, because I like to root for my team, and I know the press box is supposed to be impartial, but I like screaming and yelling. So in any event, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Detail oriented. Yeah. So those are a couple things. Wait, just got a response from Brady Russell on Twitter. We got to see. He says, all due respect to my comrades, I'm neither Nick Bellore nor Luke Wilson, just the Brady Russell. Check out the interview with Brady Russell. It wasn't my best work. I don't think I've yet really uncovered all that he has to offer, but this guy's fun. And we're about to talk about the 53-man roster, and he's I think going to be on it. So, yeah, good character, and glad to have him as a friend of the show. All right. So, hey, if you haven't already given the show a like and click subscribe, please do. I'd really appreciate it. You want to click the bell to get notified when I go live, because it's hard to predict when I'm going to do it. Even with my morning shows today, I got a little bit late in getting to it. So 8:15 instead of 8, but, you know, appreciate all your support. And then, the other thing, just as a heads up, I think we're going to have a bonus pod today. I think that I am going to talk with Rob Staten around noon today. So keep an eye out for that. Again, the best way to know is if you're subscribed and you click the bell, you'll get notified when we go live. Tomorrow morning, I can't wait. Seahawks Saturdays with Jeff Simmons. So Jeff and I will have our normal weekly conversation. And then I will head to watch the game, the scrimmage in the midday, and give you a report on that. And Sunday TBD. I think I'm going to talk to you through some of the sound from Mike Macdonald's interview yesterday. Asked a few questions, got some good answers to what I was looking for. And I got to admit, I get a little kick out of, I saw, I think Around the NFL account picked up Mike Macdonald's answer to my question about NFC West coaches and Sean McVay, and it's nice. I feel like my goal is to try to help us all get to know Mike Macdonald a little bit better, because I think there's such a strong affinity for Pete Carroll. We all have, partly as a person, but also as a coach. And so I want to try to give Mike Macdonald the opportunity to help us know his philosophies and know what makes him tick and who he is as a person. And I think a lot of my questions so far have helped with that. So I feel good about that. And it was cool to see some of those answers getting picked up elsewhere. All right. So we are into it. Let's go into the 53-man roster prediction. And I'm going to kind of walk you through. It might be a little bit ugly. I have these weird colors, and it's just in a Google sheet. I have to admit, I got a little lazy. I didn't do anything fancy for this. But let me see if I can get this in a way that I like it. And I'm going to try this and see how this works. I'm going to present this to you guys so you can follow along with me as I do it. And where is it showing up? There it is. Let's share this guy. Okay, that does seem to be working, so that's goodish. I think I can be a little bit bigger if we do that. There. How's that? That looks almost reasonably good. All right. So I'm going to go through each position group, and I'm going to talk you through what I've got. It is possible that I'm going to have to make edits along the way because I might have missed something. Who knows? But just as heads up, this is the legend. And actually, let me make a quick edit here. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to drag this over so you always are able to see that. There we go. So we will start with quarterback. And why can't I get that to go away without making this also do that? Anyway, whatever. Sorry. All right. So we'll start with the obvious, quarterback. I still have them holding just 2 quarterbacks on the roster, Geno Smith and Sam Howell. You've got the color coding here is who I've got as a lock. Practice squad, actually, you can almost ignore because I didn't really do that, but you'll see guys that are in orange that are kind of practice squad possibles. I do expect them to keep PJ Walker, and I think that he'll be the emergency third quarterback. I think he's played well enough that I think they're going to want to keep him around, and I think Sam Howell has played questionably enough that they will want to keep him around. So that is quarterback. No surprises, I think, there. Next. Why is it doing that? Why? I don't understand. Well, it is what it is. Yeah. All right. Well, my best efforts are failing there. It's okay. So running back. Now this is the first place where we are going to have some new news. I have the team. Well, let's go in order here. I have them from top to bottom ranked in this way. And that means Ken Walker is top. Zach Charbonnet is second. We have a new number 3. I have Kobe Lewis as the number 3 back. Excuse me while I clear my throat so you don't have to hear it. Yes, I have Kobe Lewis as the number 3 back on the roster. I think he has overtaken Kenny McIntosh. I think he has overtaken George Holani. I think Kobe Lewis has shown that he has some ability in blitz pickup. I think he has shown that he has the ability to get outside on the edge. He's fast enough to do it. I think he's shown that he's strong enough to run up the middle. I think he's just a more complete back than the other 2 guys. And Kenny McIntosh has had a very quiet camp. He made a couple plays yesterday, but nothing particularly impressive. He's just not standing out. And as a guy that had some questions of his athletic ability coming out of college, which is what pushed him back in the draft, he hasn't looked special. And I think running backs need to look special. George Holani, who I think is an interesting runner, he has struggled in blitz pickup. And so I initially thought he had a pretty good chance to make the roster. I think that he doesn't. And so actually these colors, as I said, let me take this off screen for a second while I make a couple edits. These colors should not be high confidence. I actually don't think that I don't think Kenny McIntosh is high confidence. In fact, I have him as a roster bubble. And I just need to get to the color codes to update that. I have George Holani as practice squad at this point. So I think he is unlikely, for my money, to make the roster. All right, let me zoom back in and get this back. Sorry, folks. Whoops. Why? Guys, I don't know what's going on. This is more annoying than it should be on this day. There we go. Why was that disappearing? Okay, let's keep going. Good enough. All right. Next on this list is wide receivers. So let's talk a little bit about wide receivers. This group is an interesting one. And let me zoom in as best I can. There you go. To see that wide receiver group. So for this group, I've got a lot of questions. But I'll tell you where I have things now. I think Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Jake Bobo are locks. I don't think there's any question they're on the team. Maybe at the beginning of camp, some people were like, hey, Jake Bobo's got to prove himself for a new coaching staff. He's done it. He's good. He's clearly a notch above as a receiver, and he brings run blocking that very few of the other guys do. So I just think he's fine. Then, I've got these 4 guys on the bubble. Derek Young, Laviska Shenault, Aesop Winston, and D. Eskridge. And I know everybody's like, oh, screw Eskridge. I hate D. Eskridge, whatever. I don't have feelings one way or the other. I just want the best players on the team. and also guys that have the potential to be part of the roster for the development over the next few years. But Derek Young, I have on top because one, his youth, two, his physical profile. He is strong, he can run. Three, the fact that he is an excellent special teams player. And so I think that gives him an edge as the fifth guy. But Laviska Shenault is right there. And Shenault had a really good practice yesterday. And, I expect him to make it both as a returner, but also as someone who can be part of certain sub packages on offense. So I think he's there. And then maybe this is too much. We will find out. But as of this day, August 2nd, essentially 2 weeks into camp, I have Aesop Winston Jr. above D. Eskridge. And the reason I have Aesop Winston Jr. above D. Eskridge is, one, he has more control, club control from a contract perspective. The club would save some money. Not a ton, and I can actually just double check this for a second. But I think they would save maybe $1 million. Let me double check. It's Dwayne Eskridge. Yeah, they'd save $1 million if they cut Eskridge, which is not nothing. Winston has got the best hands on the team, according to a lot of guys on the roster. And I think they've been interested in him as a punt returner. And I think the idea of him with his hands as a punt returner, plus the fact he's had a great camp as a receiver. I mean, I think he's a good player. I don't think he's bound to be fantastic, but I think he is a viable NFL receiver that you could put in a game and he will make some catches for you. And the quarterbacks would trust him and he would run the routes the right way. I just think he's a viable NFL receiver. And I think he can be a punt returner. So I've got him a little bit above. But here's the thing. Count them with me, folks. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I do not have them keeping 7 receivers right now. I went back and forth on this. I think this is going to be one of the tougher roster decisions because I think that Aesop Winston, you could cut him and no one's going to pick him up. That's the reality. You could stash him on the practice squad. You can decide to promote him from the practice squad at no issue for at least a few times. And so I think the way I ended up here is that I think they can keep 6 receivers, keep guys that might be harder to sneak through waivers at other positions, and then they can decide later if they want to elevate Winston. I've got Eskridge also not making it, and he's had a fine camp, and there's still a lot of respect for him in that locker room, but I just haven't seen enough yet to where I think that he is going to make the roster. We'll see. I mean, he's got time yet. We'll see how it goes in games. But that's currently where I see it. Now, I've got D. Williams listed here. That's really a mistake. And honestly, Cody White is too low here. So I should move this stuff around. This is an error. Cody White, he should probably be up in the bubble conversation. The coaches are impressed with him. He's a good athlete. He's been playing really well as a receiver. I just don't see it with him. I don't see where he makes this team. I don't see him as someone that brings something unique, particularly. So I'm just not as high on Cody White. I think he's very likely to be a practice squad guy. So color coding is a little off here, but forgive me for that. Hayden Hatton, I thought, has had a very good camp, has pretty much caught everything his way, had a nice diving catch yesterday. I just think is a really solid receiver that they could do on the practice squad. And D. Williams, he's really not a receiver anymore. He is a defensive back. He's a corner. He's actually been pretty decent at corner, but I still think he's probably a practice squad guy because of his return ability, and because he's actually honestly been more impressive at cornerback than some of the draft picks. I don't think Nehemiah Pritchett has looked particularly good, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So receivers tough. I mean, there's guys that you could make the case all the way up and down here that maybe they could sneak on the roster. You know, they should be on the practice squad. There's going to be some names let go that are not even on the practice squad that are going to be painful at the receiver spot for sure. All right, let's keep moving. Tight end is next up. So tight end, I have, as of now, and this is a change. So I had 4 running backs making the roster initially before camp started. I now only have 3. And so what that means is that there's another roster spot that I can allocate. And the place that I'm allocating it right now is tight end. I think that Noah Fant, Farrah Brown, AJ Barner are locks. And I don't think that's particularly controversial. I had Jack Westover coming in as the 4th guy. I think it's very clearly Brady Russell right now. I think he gives them a ton on special teams, and I think he can play in different positions. He can play tight end. He can play H-back, and I think he just brings the right energy and attitude. Tyler Mabry is just like this really consistent, solid player. He's like the consummate 4A. If you're a baseball person, like he's like definitely an NFL player, but he's not quite good enough to stick as the, on the roster. So he could be back on the practice squad. Westover could be on the practice squad. I will not be shocked if Westover just gets cut. Not because he's bad. I don't think he's better than the other 5 guys. And so I think there's a limit to how many tight ends they're going to keep. So right now, I mean, I've got him highlighted as practice squad. I have a feeling Tyler Mabry will be practice squad. I think Brady Russell makes the roster. All right, so 4 tight ends, that's new. 3 running backs, that's new. All right. Ugh. Come on, Google. All right, let's do this. All right, now offensive line, folks. This is messy. Holy moly, is this messy. Lots of changes for where I was to start camp versus where I am now. Lots of changes. So let's go through the somewhat obvious ones to begin with. I'm going to say Charles Cross, Christian Haynes, George Fant, Olu Anthony Bradford, Laken Tomlinson are all locks. There is another name that I still have as a lock, which is Abe Lucas. I went back and forth on this, and this is going to be a decision for the team. I think he's going to be back before camp ends. I think he is going to start the season. That's just I haven't had any conversations. That's just my feel. But if he's not back, not by this coming week, but the week after, then I think they PUP him. They start him this season on the PUP, and so that would open up a roster spot. So we'll talk about what that would look like as I go through this list. But as of right now, I am still predicting that Abe Lucas is going to start the season on the roster. We got a super chat here. Let me take that real quick. This is from Smokehawk. Says only 3 running backs. Isn't that risky? First of all, thank you for the super chat. And yeah, I mean, a lot of teams, Pete's teams in the past have kept 5, especially if you include fullbacks. Here's my thought. I think it's going to be easy to stash guys on the practice squad, and they can call guys up. I don't think anyone's going to steal George Halani from you. I don't think anyone's going to steal Kenny McIntosh from you. I think you can put both those guys on the practice squad and have them available at any given week that you need to make a roster move if someone gets hurt. But 3 running backs is going to be plenty. I think, especially given the fact that Kenneth Walker is now taking third down snaps. That takes away like this third down specialist kind of role that often goes to a third running back. I think the third running back for the most part is not going to get any snaps, and they're mainly going to be a special teams player. So I think this is going to be a 2 running back team, 2 very good running backs, and the third back is insurance for injury. But then I think it would be okay to just then rely on other guys on the practice squad. So that's kind of my reasoning. We'll see, but it's a thin group in that regard. All right. So as I said, Abraham Lucas, for right now, I've got him making the roster. I have him coming off PUP before the season and making the roster. That's just a total guess, right? So we will see. I have as high confidence Nick Harris, McClendon Curtis, and Mike Jarrell. So a name that I've talked about was, my first interview after the draft this year. You can go back and hear my interview with Mike Jarrell. I think it was the first interview he did after he was picked. And I liked him from the beginning. I've liked what I've seen on tape. The worry about Mike Jarrell was, okay, he played at Findlay. All his tape is him just mashing guys into the ground over and over and over again. And, he just didn't play against real competition. So how's he going to hold up? And then I admit my conversation with Ray Roberts and hearing his description of what he saw, and that I hadn't seen Jarrell in action yet. So I was trusting who had, and he said he thought he looked a little stiff, wasn't sure he was going to make it. I got to say, I think he's looked great throughout camp. I think he is responding to the coaching. I think he is physically talented. He's a good mover. He is strong. He absolutely threw Sonny Anderson to the ground yesterday. I like the kid. I think they like the kid. I hear when the coaches are sending encouraging, like, "Hey, Mike, yeah, good job, Mike." I just hear in their voices, I think they're excited about this guy. And I don't think he's going to play this year, but I think he's a guy that they want to invest in. So I think he's going to make the roster. And then there's Raekwon O'Neal, who similarly to McClendon Curtis was picked up off another team's practice squad last year, spent the year on the roster developing, and has been used at the guard, backup guard position. This one's going to be interesting because if you look at this, the way this, let's say I've got 10 guys is my number right now. So you can count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes. Just want to double check. That would mean Raekwon O'Neal does not make the roster. And what that means is you're a little thin at guard, because what you'd have here is you've got Cross and Lucas as your starting tackles. You've got George Fant, who's a swing backup tackle. And then you've got Jarrell, who's a tackle. McClendon Curtis is currently playing right tackle, but he's also played guard. So I'm counting him as both. But you really, from a guard perspective, you only have Laken Tomlinson and nobody that's been backing up at left guard, although Christian Haynes did play there 2 days ago. So you could say starter Laken Tomlinson, backup Christian Haynes. And then on the right side, Anthony Bradford also could be backup Christian Haynes, but then you also have McClendon Curtis as another option. He can be, a flex player back there. And then I think in a pinch, you could have Nick Harris. But if they want Raekwon O'Neal because they want him as a backup guard, then that's where you've got to flex somewhere else. I don't think that they'd feel comfortable cutting Jarrell at this point. I think they like him too much. I don't think they'll keep 11 offensive linemen. That's too much. Is it possible that they cut Nick Harris? I don't think so. So one thing I'm going to be watching is, are there going to be any of these guards that start taking snaps, practicing snapping the ball? Because let's say Christian Haynes starts snapping the ball, or Raekwon O'Neal or whatever. Like, is there one of these guards that they think can play backup center? Then maybe Nick Harris becomes a casualty and they sneak one of these guys on. But as it stands, they're going to have a really tough cut here because there's some other names on the bottom of this list. I haven't even scrolled to the bottom, but I think they like Raekwon O'Neal. I think they really like Garrett Greenfield. He played some right tackle yesterday. He's been playing mostly left tackle. He looks very athletic. I think he's been improving. I think you put another year of NFL workout and nutrition regimen on him, I think he's for real. I see a question on Instagram. Thank you all for watching over there on Instagram. Is Connor Williams still an option? He's definitely still an option. It's just a matter of whether or not the Seahawks want to sign him and that he wants to sign here. And even if Connor Williams was signed, I'm not convinced he'd start the season on the roster versus on like PUP or something like that. Or injured reserve, I think is what he'd have to probably do. I think you have to start camp on PUP. I'm not sure you can enter it partway through. So yeah, Connor Williams, I'm not counting that now because, you know, who knows what'll happen there. But certainly that would be a pretty big ripple effect. And if he came on, then Nick Harris is clearly going to be gone. No question to me. As I've said, I have some concerns about Olu. He's now nursing a little bit of an injury, but I just don't think he has proven to me that he's much stronger than he was a year ago. And that was a problem last year. I think it will be a problem this year. So, in any event, I think guys that I don't have making it, Stone Forsyth, who, you know, he's been a backup left tackle. I think that if Abe Lucas makes it back this season, then they have George Fant as a backup left tackle or right tackle, and I just don't think that they need Stone Forsyth in that situation. Sataoa Laumea, I don't think I've seen a lot. In fact, I'm not even sure he'll make the practice squad. I think Raekwon O'Neal here would definitely make it over him. I think Raekwon O'Neal and Garrett Greenfield would make it over him. It's possible Stone becomes a practice squad guy, but it just depends on whether he could get snatched up by another team. So Michael Nowitzki is the undrafted free agent center. He's had some decent moments, but nothing enough that I think he's challenging for a real roster spot. So again, this is the cutoff. Mike Jarrell right now. I've got 10 guys making the roster, and that's this is going to be one of the most fascinating ones to watch. And the kind of positional flexibility that I think they'll start testing to figure out who they can keep and who they can cut is something I'm going to be paying close attention to the rest of the way. Some of the biggest changes since we started camp, Mike Jarrell, Garrett Greenfield. Those guys have really, I think, impressed, and I think are pushing for consideration. And then the Abe Lucas thing will be the thing to monitor. All right, let's keep going. Defensive line. Why is this so annoying? Defensive line. one of the bits that I mentioned in my in my show about Mike Macdonald's keeps on the defensive side in his 2 years at Baltimore were that there was a year he kept 4 defensive linemen, a year that he kept 5. And I initially thought they were going to keep 6 here. And the reality is this is also going to be a tough cut. I think the locks that you've got are Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy, Jaron Reed, Mike Morris, and Jonathan Hankins. I don't think any of these guys are going to get cut. I really should put the orderings off here, and I'm going to switch this for my own sanity. Whoa, why did that just happen? It really doesn't like it when I copy and paste here. Hold on. You guys are getting a little preview of, oh my goodness. You guys are getting a preview of future positions. I'm going to put Mike Morris here. And if I'm being really honest, Mike Morris is more in the category of on the bubble. I think he's played well, but I think Matt Goettel has played pretty well as well. And he plays a position at nose tackle that is pretty valuable for what Mike Macdonald wants to do. But here's the thing. You look at this list. Byron Murphy, I think, has played some of his best ball lining up over center as a nose tackle in camp and in college. Jaron Reed has played nose tackle most of last year. Jonathan Hankins can play nose tackle. Leonard Williams, if you want him to, can play nose tackle. I don't know that they need another guy who only plays nose tackle. Hankins only plays nose tackle. I don't know if they need another one like that. I also don't think that Matt Goettel is going to get snatched up by another team. I think he's probably a pretty easy practice squad stash. Cameron Young has been injured, so he hasn't even been on the field. I don't know that he makes it. I'd be surprised. I think Gotel's taken full advantage of the reps and been impressive. So, as of now, I have them keeping 5. I have Goettel and Young not making it. I have Miles Adams not making it. And if they keep 4, it's not crazy that, I want to prep people. Like Mike Morris should be blue. Sorry, I'm going to clear my throat again. Sorry, folks. Yeah, so Mike Morris should be blue or maybe even yellow on the bubble. But there's a chance they keep 4 here and they keep an extra somewhere else. I think that could be the biggest surprise. And a part of this, I admit, I just really like Mike Morris and I want him to make the team. He's had an okay camp. He has not had a fantastic camp. It would not shock me if he doesn't make it. But for right now, I've got him on the roster. So I've got 5 on the defensive line. Next, let's take a look at inside linebacker. Okay. For inside linebacker, I would like them to keep less, generally speaking, but Mike Macdonald has typically kept 5. And where I see things right now is that Jerome Baker, Tyrell Dodson, Tyrese Knight, they're all locks, no question about it. And then I have John Radigan and Patrick O'Connell on the bubble. I think they both make it. Both of them have special teams that they bring. Both of them, I think, have gotten significant time at inside linebacker during the training camp. And One of the things I'll say is Patrick O'Connell has flashed in 1v1 blitz drills. Like, he's slippery. He's able to get around a lot of blocks. He's just an interesting guy. I don't think he's a starter, but he's one of those guys that I think can be a good depth player and certainly help on special teams. So given the new special teams rules, given the way things have been at the inside linebacker spot, I think they keep both of those guys. Drake Thomas hasn't, I think, yet to be out there. So, he's not making it as of now. Absolutely have to stop. One of our best and brightest, Michael Mathis, has rejoined us as a YouTube member. It is fantastic to have you. Michael, one of the more generous super chatters out there and a big supporter of the show. So great to see you. Welcome to the family. And folks, we've had about, I want to say 10 to 12 people join as either YouTube members or Patreon members. My goal is before the season starts to get 50 new folks signed up as part of the family. That will help me cover cost of covering some road games. And giving you guys more coverage on the road as the season progresses. Unlike the other guys who have ESPN paying for their hotel and tickets and or whatever, Seattle Times, all that kind of stuff, it's coming out of my pocket. So would appreciate getting as many people. And plus, the good thing is, everyone benefits. It's great to be a member. You meet a lot of folks. You be part of this community. So now is a great time to join, and super happy to have Michael back in the fold. One of the benefits is I will do my best to answer club and suite level questions during the show. And one of our club level members, Hawks fan Matt Man, asked, when is the first round of cuts? So remember, they made changes. There's not rounds of cuts anymore. They just cut everybody the final day. So it's just a mass cut the last day of roster cut down. So not stages like there were in previous years. Well, this is more sharing than maybe necessary, but I try to put all super chats up there. He went through a tough financial patch, past it now. Thank you for making my daily commute great for months now. Well, happy to do it. And man, I know folks are struggling. And so I take it, there's never any shame or, hurt feelings about people unable to join up. If all you're doing is watching the show, if all you're doing is giving it a like, if all you're doing is telling other people that they should tune in, then you're doing plenty. And I appreciate you. So folks that are also able to afford, a few bucks to do the memberships, that's great. And hopefully you guys feel like you're getting good value for that as well. So appreciate all of you. Thank you for that. All right, let's keep going. So 5 inside linebackers. Oh my goodness. Why is this so annoying? All right, let's get to edge. This is a complicated one. I went back and forth on this. Part of what was complicated is Joshua Onujiagu, I thought was an off-ball backer, but he's an edge player. And he's really had a good camp. He's flashed a lot. And he's also a good special teams player. I just don't know how they get him on the roster. I think it would mean maybe things like going only to 4 defensive linemen. Mike Morris gets cut. But I think there is a chance that they go with 6 edge players. I have them with 5. And honestly, they could go with as little as 4. But given what's going on with special teams and the kickoff rules and the fact that, more of these guys will play on special teams. I've seen Darrell Taylor on special teams a bunch during practice. I think they're going to keep 5, but I wouldn't be shocked if they keep 6. I mean, the locks here are Uchenna Nwosu, Boye Mafe, Derek Hall, and Draymond Jones. And then I've got Darrell Taylor as a high confidence 5th guy. But Nelson Caesar and Josh Onujiagu have been really good. And I think they can sneak them both onto practice squad. But again, keep in mind, if they really don't feel like Darrell Taylor is worth keeping, and I think that they're gonna, but let's say that for whatever reason they decide, maybe we're gonna bet on Nelson Caesar as a guy that we think can at least do a lot of what Darrell Taylor could do, and is younger and under club control for 4 years. They save $3 million if they cut Darrell Taylor, and that's not nothing. So I do think that there's a little bit of question mark. Draymond Jones hasn't been practicing the last few days due to injury. I don't think that's anything serious. But yeah, this is how I've currently got it. Sundiata Anderson, or Sonny Anderson, as most people know him, he's had a fine camp. He's just not, I don't think there's enough there for him to make it. I certainly don't think he's been above these other two guys. And so just depth-wise, I think he ends up being, just a straight cut. So edge is another one that's going to be interesting. Now let's get to corner. Cornerback. We have got Devin Witherspoon, Reek Woolen, Trey Brown, and Mike Jackson as locks. And I kind of hesitate with Mike Jackson. He's been very quiet during camp. And I just kind of wonder, how's it going? Yeah, so I've got some questions there, but I mean, generally, I think he's a lock given how he's played in past years. Artie Burns, I could make the case that he should actually move up this list to third. I think increasingly there is a chance that the Seahawks are going to play Witherspoon on the outside and have Burns as their nickel, which would mean Trey Brown is on the bench. So that's at least where it is right now. We'll see how it goes down the road. DJ James had his first interception yesterday. Good play for him. I've got him. Nehemiah Pritchett, I just don't think he's been burned a lot in camp. I'm not seeing much there that makes me think it wouldn't surprise me if he is just straight cut, not even practice squad. So, and Andrew Whitaker is no longer on the roster, so we can ignore that. So that's cornerback. I have them keeping 6. Yes, I have them keeping 6. So that would include DJ James in this rank order. And I feel pretty good about that. I think that's a pretty straightforward group. Safety, I think this is last of the non-specialist room guys. I've got him keeping 4. And one of the changes here, I'd had Jonathan Sutherland going into this saying I thought he would sneak on as the 4th safety. They cut him. So whether injury or other reason, he's already off the team. And I think there's other teams that have been looking to sign him. Kobe Bryant, I think, is the 4th guy. Players respect him. I think coaches like what they see. I think he is their 4th safety. Ty Okada is there as well, but I think he will be a special teams, practice squad kind of guy. So that's that. And then obviously you got Dixon, Myers, and Stoll. So again, as I zoom out, I'll zoom out for you now so you can kind of see the wider view. Whoops. And we'll go through this once more. You're going to want to see this larger. So you've got Geno Smith, Sam Howell, Ken Walker, Zach Charbonnet, Kobe Lewis. You've got Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jake Bobo, Derek Young, and Laviska Shenault. You've got Noah Fant, Pharaoh Brown, AJ Barner, and Brady Russell. You've got Charles Cross, Abe Lucas. Yes, I currently still think he's going to come off PUP in time. Christian Haynes, George Fant, Olo Oluwatimi, Anthony Bradford, Laken Tomlinson, Nick Harris, McClendon Curtis, and Mike Jarrell at offensive line. I've got Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy, Jaron Reed, Jonathan Hankins, Mike Morris on the defensive line. Jerome Baker, Tyrell Dodson, Tyrese Knight, John Radigan, and Patrick O'Connell for your inside linebackers. Uchenna Nwosu, Boye Mafe, Derek Hall, Draymond Jones, and Darrell Taylor at edge. Devin Witherspoon, Reek Woolen, Trey Brown, Mike Jackson, Artie Burns, and DJ James at corner. And then finally, safety, Julian Love, Rayshawn Jenkins, Kayvon Wallace, and Kobe Bryant. I saw the question about Jarek Reed. I expect him to start the season on PUP. And they'll be able to make that decision about him later this year. I wouldn't be surprised if Jarek Reed is kind of stashed, kind of a redshirt year where they let him develop, for a long part of the season. They eventually make a decision about whether to activate him and kind of stash him on the practice squad or something. But I think Jarek Reed's a player worth keeping around. But I think that they're going to take advantage of the fact that they can get some roster flexibility by having him on PUP. So that is my 53-man roster for this Blue Friday on August 2nd. Some changes in there. I think the ones that I'm most excited about are guys like Mike Jarrell. I think it's Did I just exit the whole show? I'm curious what happened there. Anyway, I'm back. I think it's good news about Kobe Bryant. I think it's also good news about the edge position. Nelson Caesar potentially jumping in there. And then Brady Russell, I think, is also, some new news. I think Kobe Lewis is maybe the most surprising thing. People are going to be very surprised if Kenny McIntosh doesn't make this team. As of right now, I don't think he's going to, but who knows? So, that's where things are right now. A lot of things still in flux. There's a reason that we've got multiple weeks left to go. Hopefully the thing that will determine who makes the roster is quality and merit and not the injury bug. So that's the thing that we should all cheer for the most, is that the best players make it, not just the ones that are able to stay healthy. So tomorrow we will have the mock game, the scrimmage. Speaking of staying healthy, that is the number one goal every year when they do this. And so we'll see that. I will be there for that. Later today, around noon, I think this is going to work out. We'll have Rob Staten. We're going to do a bonus show today. So do a little crossover pod with Rob Staten, get his take on how things are going, any thoughts that he has. Be sure, if you haven't already, given the show a like and click subscribe. I super appreciate it when you guys take the time to do it. If you could, that would be great. And then otherwise, I will not be attending practice today. I'm taking a home day to hang out with my kid. And also the day before scrimmage, I have a feeling they're going to have a really kind of throwaway practice that there's not going to be a lot to learn from. A little bummed to miss, post practice press conferences, but we'll get to it tomorrow. So, all right, everybody. Thank you all. If you haven't joined as a patron, patreon.com/hawkblogger, now's the time to join up. I will create the audio version of this episode momentarily for you. So jump over there and join as a Patreon member. Everybody, see you later. I am Brian Nemhauser. This has been episode 131 of Hawk Blogger Mornings. Take care, all.